All right, let's try this again. Got some feedback from the better half that the broadcast wasn't coming in. So if you're tuning in now, please let me know. Please let me know if this is coming in nice for you. If not, let me know that too. See if we can. All right, looks like some people are rolling back in. Let me know. Are we coming in good? We had some technical difficulties. Had to fire it back up. So somebody, holla at me. Am I coming through clear now? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a hey, you're good. Or give me a hey, this video still sucks. In the meantime, while I wait on your feedback, got a yes better from the better half. Beautiful. Thank you, dear. This episode is brought to you by Bulleit. Not really, but Bulleit, if you're out there and you're watching and you want to sponsor my video podcast, you can contact me at corey.r.james1991 at gmail.com. Let's pour up and try again. What do you say? Huh? Sunday fun day. Let's give it another go. What do we say? Sounds good to me. Now, can anybody let me know? Did you hear anything? Did we hear anything that I said? If not, I'll just chalk that up as a dry run, and we'll run it back. John, beautiful. Thank you, John Thrasher, my boy. Appreciate you coming through. John, I hope you got that save the date, by the way. I hope it made its way to you. I can't wait to see you at the wedding. It's going to be a fun time. I think the last time I saw John, I think the last time I saw you, it might have been Nate's wedding, and we weren't hurting at that time either. We were having a good time, so uh, good to hear from you, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for coming. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, obviously, we're going to be talking about the Bengals. I plan on talking about the Lions, John. Don't you worry. I'm going to touch on a little bit. I mean, how can you not after what the moves that the Lions have made this offseason? I mean, it's been absolutely, um, it's very uncharacteristic, is what we'll say, for what the Lions have done. And we're going to be talking about the Browns. Obviously, spent some time at the Bowling Green State University. I'm an alumni there. I think a lot of people that might be tuning in are. Appreciate you guys. So being at Bowling Green, you get a lot of interaction with Browns fans. Um, you know, it was fun. Some of my best friends now are Browns fans. So I got a lot of exposure to their fan base. Passionate group to say the least. Not quite as crazy as the Bills Mafia, but I don't think most people are. Maybe other. Never mind. Was going down a road there. There's some pretty crazy people, but Bills Mafia are right up there. Browns fans, though, I mean, for what that they've like put up with over the last most of my lifetime, for instance, for them to do something that I've never seen the Bengals do. They won a playoff game last year, so tip of the hat to you, Browns fans. Did something we couldn't do. Now, you could argue, and I will argue, that that happened because Ryan Finley stole the soul of the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. I will make that argument. I just did. And from there, the Steelers were doing this. And the Browns just came and took advantage of it. Played a great game. Hats off to them. They won the playoff game. They won the playoff game. Things are bright in Cleveland. We're going to touch on that a little bit later. We're going to talk about J.J. Watt. Speaking of Cleveland, that seems to be one of the landing spots that everybody is talking about. For instance, is that J.J. Watt could potentially be coming in to Cleveland, which, I mean, they got the cap space. Other names that I'm hearing are Green Bay. You've been seeing that Um, Green Bay's been cutting some people from the team, releasing some people, freeing up some cap space. Is it to go get JJ? I don't know. Um, we'll see. I mean, there's plenty of other moves that Green Bay could be making. They definitely need um, some more options for Aaron Rodgers to, I think, at the very least, just to keep him happy. So that could be that. Also, Bills. Just talked about the Bills. It could be J.J. Watt going to the Bills Mafia and representing in Buffalo. And I don't think that Buffalo needs to do a whole lot on their front office side in terms of what they have available to go get J.J. Watt. But we're gonna get into a little bit of that later as well. So very exciting off season for the Bengals. I mean, as Bengals fans, we've been through a lot over the last couple years. Let's just raise our glass. Moment of silence for Bengals fans. Yeah, that was nice. Um, you don't get the number one pick by being a good team, right? You don't get the opportunity to choose whoever you want in the draft class by being a good team. So we've seen some garbage lately. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's going to change anytime relatively soon. But what I will say is that there are some things that are looking bright. There are things that are happening in the organization that lead you to believe that there is a culture change happening in Cincinnati. Has to happen. First of all, let me be very clear. If it doesn't happen, um, we're going to see a lot of what's happening in Houston to some extent. Players just saying, "Get me out of here," and you did see a little bit of that with Carlos Dunlap. One of my favorite players, being that he's a Gator. I'm a huge Gators fan and a Bengal. I hated seeing Carlos leave. But I think that was more attributed to the regime change. Carlos was drafted under the Marvin Lewis regime, came in, stud, Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee multiple times. I think he was just a couple sacks away, if I'm not mistaken, from being the all-time leader in sacks for the Cincinnati Bengals. So absolute stud. But I think it was, um, you know, a lot of butting heads in terms of his usage, how he was used, and it was time for both sides to go. Did we get the correct value for him? Absolutely not. I think the Bengals could have done a lot better in terms of what his market value actually is. And then he goes to Seattle, and I think he gets 5 sacks for the rest of the season. So um, the proof is in the pudding in regards to that one. But anyway, a couple of exciting things happening. Joe Burrow. I mean, we got our guy, and yes, we watched his knee explode against the Washington football team last year. I literally had to stop myself from saying the R word there, so bear with me. But um, yeah, I mean I feel like we all knew that was coming. I didn't really think that it was going to happen at that time in that game. I feel like the Bengals would have won that game had that not happened. Personally, I think there's a lot of people that agree. Washington was not a great football team. They made the playoffs, however, in the NFC least worst division in football, bar none. I think that you could have seen the Bengals win 2, maybe 3 more games. Having a 7-win season, potentially 6-win, 7-win season as a rookie quarterback, you're chalking that up as a really good year. Remember the Bengals won 4 games. Only one of those wins was without Joe Burrow against the Steelers on Monday night. I will never forget that. Kevin, if you're listening, won't let you forget it either. But so Joe Burrow's rehab going well. He posted a video a couple months ago, walking into Paul Brown Stadium, reporting into Paul Brown in the middle of winter, wearing shorts. There's a statement there. Obviously, he's like, "Hey, look at my knee. We're good." He was walking under his own power, not even really a limp in the giddy up. I mean, if there's anybody that can get it done in terms of like rehabbing the right way, coming back, putting a chip on his shoulder, I think it's got to be Joe Burrow. That's what this guy does consistently. That's what he has done throughout his college career. I think he will start to do it now in the NFL too. He's really going to start blossoming, at least I believe, into one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm putting that out there. I'm putting that out there that he will be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL very soon, if not next year. Bold statement. But Other exciting stuff happening is the Bengals are getting new uniforms. Oh, that's cute. That's how you get Super Bowls, right? It's not. It's they're gonna make you think. They want you to believe that you win Super Bowls by drafting quality and signing quality in free agency, building a stout offensive line. No, it's new uniforms, guys. I mean, come on. Last time the Bengals changed the uniforms, I will say though, is right when we got Carson Palmer. We changed the uniforms up a little bit more modern. That was the last big revamp of the uniforms. They've made little tweaks here and there, but then we started winning football games. We went to the playoffs. We didn't win, but we went. So maybe this next uniform change will allow us to take that next step. And I actually really, really, really hope that they get back to that like leaping Bengal tiger that they used to have when I was a kid. I think that the bee that sits in the middle of the Bengal Stadium, or excuse me, in the middle of the field at Paul Brown Stadium is lazy. I think it's stupid. It's just like, oh, B, Bengals. All right, let's do it, man. Let's put some stripes on it and throw it out there. Let's go. I hate it. It's so stupid. So, especially when you have probably, I think they're the coolest. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm a fan of the Bengals, but I think they have it like probably like top five coolest uniforms, at least coolest helmet in the league. You got to do better than just a B, guys. Come on, and you're starting to see some things changing like that. Some structural changes in the organization, the culture. You're starting to feel a little bit of a change, and there are a couple indicators of that. Not the uniforms. I'm not talking about the uniforms here. That's not an indicator that your organization is making a change. What is that an indicator of? They want to sell some more freaking jerseys. And I just want to put this out there real quick, kind of a sidebar. My grandma might be listening. Grandma, I love you. I might curse. I'm sorry. I love you so much. I might say the F word at some point, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. John with a comment. Bengals hopes lies on Burrow. He might be the best quarterback in the division, or at least he has the highest ceiling compared to others. I tend to agree with that. Don't even get me started on what Pittsburgh has or what they don't have because it's a quarterback. Mason Rudolph is not your future, first of all. And the only thing that Ben is going to do for you in Pittsburgh right now is hold you back. That's all he's going to do. He is a large cap hit. He has no upside anymore. He is what he is. And if you're going to kind of like say, hey, owe it to you, you got 2 championships for us, we'll build a team around you, sure, that's fine. But I just want to let you know that if you look up in Foxborough, that's what happened there, and you can see what's going on. Now, they got 6 in Foxborough, a little bit different than in Pittsburgh where they got 2, but nonetheless, Ben, you know what he's got. It is what it is. You can't win a championship with him anymore. I'm putting that out there. He's done, and that's okay. That's okay. It's not a slight to Ben. The guy won 2 Super Bowls. You move, out to Maryland. You look at Lamar Jackson. I like Lamar. I like him a lot. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. Lamar has an effect on the league, and everybody wants to look at him because you never know what's going to happen, where he's going to pop off and make an amazing play. And unfortunately, his coming out party was really against the Bengals, where he had that like 70-yard touchdown run where he just made everyone on the field look like they were JV, and this guy is on another planet, absolutely rocking it out, just making people run into each other, juking them out, just leaving them in the dust, sprinting ahead. He's exciting to watch. Now, do I think, oh, look, Lola's making an appearance. Say hi, Lola. Say hi to everybody. That's my little Bengal cat there. And, excuse me, back to Lamar. I'm not convinced yet, and I would love to be proven wrong just because I think he's fun to watch, that Lamar Jackson is the guy that's going to take you to that championship. You've seen it in the last, I believe, 3 seasons, in the playoffs. Getting beat pretty handily, too. Not looking very good. I believe my memory is fading me. I believe it was Buffalo opening round. Yeah, there's Kathy chiming in. Yeah, Lola's making an appearance, of course. She's a show off. She is a show cat. But Yeah, I think it was the Bills that knocked out the Ravens last year in the playoffs, and that's kind of unfortunately that's becoming Lamar's calling card is that he doesn't break through, he doesn't win playoff games. I hope that that's wrong. I hope that that's not the case because he's fun. He's I think he's good for the league. He's exciting. I hope he succeeds. Um, but I hope he gets traded so he doesn't succeed in my division. But going to Cleveland, looking at Baker, I was gonna get to this a little bit later, but I'll just touch on it now. Like Browns fans, you got your guy. Like let's just be very clear. There is I'm not sure if they're still making episodes, but Stadium Must Heard podcast. Good friends of mine, Stobes, Aaron, they produced the Stadium Must Heard podcast. They're a couple of Cleveland sports junkies. They had me on a couple of times, and I appreciate that. But um, they were, you know, they were convinced that Sam Darnold was their guy, and I'm gonna put this out there. I was like, dude, Baker is the best quarterback in the draft. Um, and foolishly, I said that I believe this was what year is this? 2017. Somebody I can't remember what year they were drafted, but I said that Josh Rosen has the most upside of every quarterback. So obviously I can be wrong. Josh Rosen is I think he just got signed again as a free agent from to another team. He's kind of making that tour, but still in the league. But I had said that he will have the most upside. Um, as you're looking at it right now, that draft class, just to remind everybody, that draft class, excuse me, Sam Darnold went to the Jets. Josh Rosen went to the Cardinals. You got Baker, obviously, with the Browns. Lamar, with the last pick in the first round, went to Buffalo. Excuse me, Baltimore, and then Josh Allen went to Buffalo. Now, I would say that Baker is still the best in that draft class if it weren't for the season that Josh Allen just had. The the steps that Josh Allen just took from last year to this year in terms of completion percentage. Go look it up. It's insane. I think Josh Allen was completing somewhere around like 30% of his passes. It's not that bad, but it's ridiculous the leap that he just made. Again, I'm not an expert. Let me just put this out here. I am in no way conveying to you that I am an expert, but Josh Allen, if you compared every season that was just had last year, Josh Allen had the best season out of every quarterback in that draft class, bar none. That being said, Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, he is your guy. He can get it done for you. What did Baker benefit from last year? He benefited from a coach that knew his strengths, not only his strengths, but the strengths of his team. I mean, look at the run game that they had last year. It was insane, absolutely insane. You got a two-headed monster, Nick Chubb, and then you got Kareem Hunt, and they're just absolutely dominating on the run game. Bengals couldn't stop them. Couldn't stop them. A lot of people couldn't. A lot of people couldn't stop him. But that's why Baker was successful is because he had a coach that knew his strength. Let's roll Baker out of the pocket. Let's get him on the move. That's where he throws best, which is kind of counterintuitive because when I was a kid, it was always like if you can flush the quarterback out of the pocket, you're gonna create something. You're gonna create something to where he's gonna make an error. Now a lot of the time is let's get this guy moving. Let's get this guy moving because it opens up the field in a different way. It allows him to see things differently and make a play. Not only that, but I think the gaps change in terms of coverage. You got guys manned up on each other. If you can shift that quarterback's perspective out to the right or the left, it gives them an opportunity to make a play a lot better. And Baker was doing that a lot last year, a lot of play action rollouts, and they were successful. They went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Again, hats off to the Browns for that. And so back to John's comment, Joe Burrow, in terms of he thinks he's the best quarterback in the division. What do you guys think? Do you think that Joe Burrow right now is the best quarterback in the division? Or, caveat to that, do you think that Joe Burrow has the most upside? I think that part's a given. I think there's no question that Joe Burrow could be the best quarterback in the division, even next year. Obviously barring his health. And to comment on that, I am in no hurry to get him back on the field. I have no problem with the Bengals shuffling fucking Brandon Allen out there next year and just letting him try. And then, maybe we put Joe in at like week 6. And, once he's like 130% good to go, he's put on like 30 pounds of muscle and he's just faster and more NFL. These guys, when they go, there's a lot of development that happens from high school to college in terms of football. Like basketball is a sport where you legitimately can go from high school to the pros and be good. If you're good enough, you can do it. The NFL is not like that. It is not even close. Like whenever these people say, you know, uh, I think Alabama could beat the Jaguars. Shut up. You're wrong. It's not even close. The Jaguars would destroy any college team. The worst team in football every year, in the NFL, excuse me, every year, they would destroy the best college team. It's not even a question. Because when these kids go from high school to college, there's a lot of development that happens. Physically, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they're getting faster. Their diets are more focused towards turning them into tackling machines. But you look at college versus the NFL, it goes from like college, it's their job. Yes. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, these guys spend, 12 plus hours a day focusing on, you know, perfecting their craft. But when they get to the NFL, it literally is their job. It's literally all they do. They're not going to class, they're not doing anything but focusing on football. And they're getting huge and they're just getting into NFL fit. So I'm excited to see that. That's one thing that I'm also excited to see is what is Joe Burrow going to like just physically look like after he's had a whole off season of NFL training under his belt. And I don't think you're really going to get that this year just due to the injury. It'll be another year. But we're long on Joe Burrow. This isn't a stock that you flip and make money on real quick. This is one that you hold and you hold and you hold and you wait till it puts your kids through college before you sell it. This is a stock that will, hopefully bring multiple championships to Cincinnati. That's the plan, right? That's why you draft a guy like that. Is because you think championships. You have to, or else why are you playing? So, yeah, John, I think you're right. I think that, if not now, very soon we will be saying that he's the best quarterback in the division. And if it weren't for guys like Patrick Mahomes being in the AFC, you could say in the next 5 years potentially conference. This is off of 1 year, but at the same time, I've been talking to a lot of guys that are not Bengals fans, and they're texting me and like, yeah, your team sucks, but like Joe Burrow is the shit. Like I am terrified that we have to play him twice a year for the next decade potentially. Because he is going to be that good. So be excited about that. Be excited about your new uniforms. Another thing so I was talking about a little bit earlier, like the culture is kind of changing a little bit in Cincinnati, and there are a couple of things, couple indicators, and it wasn't uniforms, like I said. Mom thinks that Lamar's the best guy right now. I like Lamar. I love Lamar Jackson, Mama. Don't. I mean, that guy. First of all, Louisville, Kentucky. What's going on, Louisville, Kentucky? Got a little Bulleit in me tonight. This episode is not brought to you by Bulleit, but if Bulleit you're watching, it can be. Anytime. Anyway, a couple of things that have changed. Free agency last year, the Bengals spent more in free agency last year than most seasons that I've ever been alive, and it was exciting. You didn't get to really reap the benefits of those spendings due to injury on two parts. The biggest one being DJ Reader that we got from Houston. He was, I believe, at the time the highest paid nose tackle in football. And I mean, he was making an impact early. Playoff teams that prep for Lamar Jackson, this is from John. Playoff teams that prep for Lamar Jackson are able to figure him out. I'm convinced he can break that ceiling. And that's what I was indicating, John. I agree. I think they're able to shut him down pretty quickly. And you know what? I don't really put that as much on Lamar. To me, that goes to the coach. You have to give your quarterback things that make him successful, right? You have to, like I was talking about with Baker earlier. Excuse me. You have to give this guy something in order to allow him to do what he does best. And typically the Ravens do that, except for in playoff football. So, yeah, anyway. The Bengals spent more in free agency previous free agency, and they had it a very, very long time. DJ Reader, I think, is going to make a huge impact if Geno is still there next year, there are some talks that the Bengals are considering, cutting ties with Geno Atkins. I for one am for that. I think it's time to move beyond. I love Geno. I love what he was able to do for the Bengals in his time there, but we just didn't see it last year. And I don't know if it's age or, he's trying to like reserve himself to be, productive elsewhere. If it is, like, that's kind of shitty, but whatever. It's his career. Do what you need to do. Um, I am excited to see what DJ can do next year with a full season of health. I think it's going to be very, very impactful, especially, Carl Lawson on the edge, and then Sam Hubbard on the other side. These are young, strong, fast, exciting football players that are going to be very impactful on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see what DJ can do. So you get the free agency spend. And then the Bengals are kind of doing some other things that they don't normally do. Like, for most of the time that I have followed the Bengals, their like social media and fan engagement has been the equivalent of like a high school football team. It's been pretty terrible. If you didn't see the Houday scooter video like 2 years ago, go look at it. That's how it started, and then you can look at some recent social media stuff, and this is how it's going. So the Bengals have invested in engaging in their fans and creating excitement around the team. It's just something that they don't do. One of the things that they did on that topic was they posted a picture. Cincinnati got a bunch of snow not too long ago. They posted a picture. It's like a wide shot of Paul Brown Stadium, and there's, snow day is what the caption was. It's just like, hey, there's a lot of snow on the field. And then somebody posts a picture zooming in on the ring that separates the upper deckers from the lower seats. And on that ring, you see a few names. It was Munoz, Anderson, and I can't remember what the third one is, but what that says to me, and they were all in different fonts, what that says to me is that the Bengals are going to be introducing a Ring of Honor. Now, if you're not a Bengals fan, that like, okay, cool, why is that a big deal? The Bengals have nothing of that sort. It's almost as if they rarely acknowledge or celebrate their history, to be honest with you. We have no museum. We have no Hall of Fame, like the Cincinnati Reds have a Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. The Bengals have nothing like that. No Ring of Honor, no jersey numbers retired of any kind, nothing to honor their players. And so when you have one player in the Hall of Fame, Anthony Munoz, why would the NFL put more people in the Hall of Fame if your own team isn't really willing to acknowledge that or celebrate your history or celebrate your success? Ken Riley is 5th all time in interceptions. You know who he's ahead of? Ed Reed. Ed Reed is in the Hall of Fame. Ken Riley is not in the Hall of Fame. And I believe that that's because he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He is one of the best defensive backs of all time. Not even a question. Not in the Hall of Fame. Ken Anderson. I'm going deep here. So if we got some younger fans like myself, the only reason I know these people is because I'm a fan. Ken Anderson, I believe 2-time MVP. I think 4, if not consecutive, 4 times was he's the passing champion in the NFL. Somebody watch and look it up for me. I'm almost certain. 4 times he was the passing champion in the NFL. Not in the Hall of Fame. 2-time AFC champion. Not in the Hall of Fame. Backtrack that. 1-time AFC champion. Sorry about that. Anyway, so a Ring of Honor could be coming in Cincinnati. So that poses a question to you. If you could pick 5, let's limit it to 5. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy thinking that the Bengals are going to start throwing out like 10 names out on this Ring of Honor, retiring numbers, and things like that. If you could pick 5 Bengals of all time that could be in your Ring of Honor, who would they be? Drop them in the comments. I'm excited to see what you say. John, with a comment here, Alabama might have 12 future pros on their roster right now. The Jaguars have 53 pros. 95% of them have experience already. Exactly. That's my point. A very, very small portion. And John went right to the top. He's talking about Alabama. This is the best team that we have seen in college football in a long time, and they're only going to get better. Sorry, college football fans. Alabama isn't going anywhere. They have the best recruiting class next year. Not even close. And it could be one of their best recruiting classes of all time. So, if you think Alabama was good this year, just wait. They're not going anywhere. They have no trouble recruiting. No trouble. If you're, I mean, just think about it though. If you're one of the best players in college football, where would you want to go? Maybe you have like allegiance to Ohio State. Totally get it. Totally get it. But if you are the best and you want to win championships and you want to go pro, it's Alabama. I'm sorry, it is. I'm a Florida fan. Kathy, I hate Saban too. I'm a Gators fan. I hate Alabama. Let me be very clear. 100%. They suck, but they don't suck. They're very, very good. And it's because Nick Saban can literally walk into any college recruit and say, if you come to Alabama for 4 years, you will win a national championship. You can say that. You know, go back and look. There is not one recruit since Alabama has won their first national championship, if I'm not mistaken, with Saban, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but if I'm not mistaken, since Saban has won his first national championship, he can literally say to every recruit that he walks in, sits in their living room, looks them in the eye, and say, if you come to Alabama, you will win a national championship. Because they've done it. At least once every 4 years. Hard to pass that up. That's all I'm saying. So that's kind of like college football is not as fun for me anymore. Is it for you? Do you still love college football? I'm going to watch it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch college football. But is it as fun as the NFL is now? I don't think so. I think it's pretty predictable. Just look at the playoffs over the last, 5 years or so. You got 3 of them right away, right? You know who 3 of the teams are going to be right away. Clemson. Every time. Ohio State. Alabama. There's 3. Right there. So really all we're doing is trying to figure out who the 4th team is going to be. That's what we do for most of the season in college football, is just who's that 4th team going to be? And until it changes, until someone upsets Alabama in the SEC, obviously LSU did it and won the national championship, but who was that 4th team? It was Alabama. So I don't know. Not as fun. Not as fun as the NFL. There's so much more parity. In the NFL, literally every year, there is a team that finishes worst in their division and then finishes first the next year. Every year it happens. Every year. I think the Vegas odds on that, like you can bet on that, I'm pretty sure. And the Vegas odds are like minus 120. So, I mean, it happens, is what I'm trying to say. Like Vegas, like you bet $1, they're going to give you 80 cents if you get that bet right, because it likely happens. If you're a Lions fan, all you got is college football. That's from Kathy. And I would say that you are correct, but I think they're similar to the Bengals. And this is why the Lions are my NFC team. Similar to the Bengals, the tides are a-turning in Allen Park. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So, if you could pick 5 Bengals to go in your Ring of Honor, who would they be? Why? So I kind of went through and talked a little bit about who would be my top 5 Bengals of all time, who would go in the Ring of Honor. Number 1, pretty obvious. His son owns the team now. He's the founder of the Bengals. It has to be Paul Brown, right? Yeah, I know he was with the Browns, but he's a Bengal. And the stadium already has his name on it, so maybe you don't throw him in there. But I think, as an homage, I don't see Mike Brown creating a Ring of Honor without putting his dad's name on it. Personally. Who's number 2? In my opinion, Anthony Munoz. He's the only Bengal in the Hall of Fame right now. So that's a no-brainer to me. Anthony Munoz gets in without a question. And then the next 2 are pretty easy for me too. Number 3, I went with Ken Anderson. Again, I think Ken should be in the Hall of Fame. MVP, passing champion 4 times. It's kind of a disgrace that Ken Anderson is not in the Hall of Fame, if I'm being honest with you. And again, I believe these guys aren't in the Hall of Fame because they're Bengals, and not because like the world has some vendetta against Cincinnati. I think it falls back to ownership. How is the NFL going to honor and put you in the highest esteem than if you don't do it yourself? If you don't honor these players, if you don't retire their jersey number, why would the NFL do it? They won't, clearly. So I got Ken Anderson and then Ken Riley, again, number 5 all time in interceptions. Number 5 all time. You got to put Ken in. Absolutely. And then number 5 is where it gets a little hazy. It gets a little. There's a lot that you could choose from, is what I'm trying to say. A couple of names that are coming out. Boomer. I love Boomer. I love Boomer. I love that Boomer Esiason like shouts out the Bengals constantly. He reps us. He gives us a voice on the national platform, which we don't get. I think a lot of people here that you support these smaller teams. I think you can kind of relate to that. You know, I, I think Boomer does a great job representing the city of Cincinnati. And yeah, Chris Collinsworth. I got 2 Chris Collinsworths right now, and that's hilarious. I love Chris. My mom loves Chris Collinsworth. Not only do we like Chris Collinsworth because he is a Bengal, but he's a Gator, baby. Chris Collinsworth, man, the original OG that went from the University of Florida to Cincinnati, much like Carlos, like I was talking about a little bit earlier. So Chris Collinsworth, that's a good one. But hey, I will counter your Chris Collinsworth and give you an Isaac Curtis. I think if you're going to go old school wide receiver for the Bengals, in my opinion, Isaac Curtis. Got another Chris Collinsworth. Melissa stopping in to say hi. Hey, Melissa. Miss you, cuz. Tell the kids I said hey. Tell Kenny I said what's up. Hope to see you guys very soon. So who would be the 5th? I got Boomer. I got Ken Anderson. Excuse me. I got Chris Collinsworth. I kind of went back and forth on this one about who would be my number 5 person in the Ring of Honor. Reggie Williams. Okay, I love it. Reggie. I am going to go with, so when I was a kid, I was like a teenager, we had Chad Johnson, Jeremy Johnson, Rudy Johnson, and we had these shirts that say, you can't handle, or we've got 3 Johnsons and 1 big Willie. Willie Anderson. I think if you're going to put somebody in, this guy is I think he's like a 7-time Pro Bowler. It's insane. Willie Anderson, I think he was a first-round draft pick out of Auburn. Was with the Bengals for a very long time, most of my childhood, through like the dirt days. If I'm not mistaken, he played with Boomer, he played with Kitna, and he played with Carson Palmer. That's how long he was with the Bengals, through like the bungle days, the bad days. Who we got here? Crumry, very good. Yes. I'm going with Willie. I think that he is a shoe-in Hall of Famer. And if you kind of look at it, it's kind of bizarre. At like the Bengals have like 3 left tackles that like will or should be eventually in the Hall of Fame. Anthony Munoz the first, Willie Anderson number 2, and then Andrew Whitworth, who's currently with the Rams, but I mean 90% of his career with the Bengals should go in as a Bengal. I think it's kind of bizarre, and you look at the Bengals and like just stud left tackles. It's counterintuitive, is what I'm trying to say. So that'd be my top 5. Drop your top 5 in the chat. Love to see it. I'll come back to it here in a little bit, but yeah. So the kind of some different things that you don't really expect to see out of the Bengals, kind of shedding, molting, getting out of the old and moving more towards the new. Exciting stuff. I hope it happens. It needs to happen. I love this team, but there's some stuff that they do. Like, first of all, they don't have a GM. That's true. The Bengals don't have a GM. Now, they have a guy that operates and does all those duties, but he's a Duke Tobin. I think it's like vice president of player personnel or something stupid like that. They don't have a general manager. So why does that matter? Well, if you end up needing to fire Duke Tobin and look for a new person, you're not going to get somebody that's like, I don't know, John Dorsey, who the Lions just hired. You're not going to get him. You know why? Because he wants that esteem, right? Now, counter to that, I guess he did just come on as like VP of player personnel at the Lions, so maybe I'm not, speaking truths there, but I think that there's something to be said about the Bengals not giving that title, to the person that's handling this operation. There's no general manager. I don't know. Maybe I think in that world, there's a lot of pride that goes into what they do, and if you don't give somebody that title, that's a big deal. People look for that in job opportunities. So, excuse me. So moving on here for the Bengals, and we got just a couple more quick topics before we get on to the Browns and the Lions. Appreciate you guys riding with me. I do want to stop real quick though and give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Nathan Nickel. Me and Nate worked together for a considerable amount of time back in our past. And Nate has his own thing going on online. He does his own live stream on 4 Laps Down. It's here on Facebook. 4 Laps Down is a sports page on Facebook with weekly live sports content. 4 Laps Down is currently producing a weekly NASCAR podcast, Left Turn, baby, and recording it live on Facebook Wednesday nights at 8:30. So get your line to gain on Sunday nights here at 8:30. Hop over to 4 Laps Down on Wednesday nights at 8:30. And this past NFL season, they even did an NFL show, 4th and Long. Beautiful. Weekly live NFL show. 4 Laps Down Nation is the perfect destination on social media for anyone who loves racing, sports, and cold beers. Those guys put down Busch lattes like nobody else. So if you're in that world, get on over to 4 Laps Down. So you can join them at 4 Laps Down Nation on Facebook today. And don't forget to like 4 Laps Down on Facebook. Huge shout out to Nathan, giving our page here a share on his group. They got a great following over there. They do a lot of cool stuff. They do e-racing. So go check out 4 Laps Down here on Facebook. Again, Nate, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for the share. Looking forward to, I don't know, maybe we'll collab one day. I don't know. We'll see. Moving on to free agency, and I'm going to try and touch a little bit on each team here with free agency. So the Bengals, I think it's pretty clear what their need is in terms of free agency. They got to get an offensive line. Last year they went heavy defense in the free agency, and they needed to. The Bengals defense was really bad. It was really, really bad. You could argue that it's still pretty bad. They looked really good in that Steelers game, but excuse me. But they had some work to do, and I think they addressed a lot of needs. For instance, there is no linebacker still on the Bengals that was there during the Marvin Lewis era. They're gone. And I don't know about you guys, but I literally pulled my hair out watching the Bengals linebackers attempt to cover anyone in pass coverage. There was a Steelers tight end, Todd Heath, I believe his name is. Todd Heath. We would make Todd Heath look like Jerry fucking Rice. I'm not kidding. This old white dude that is not super athletic would just gut the Bengals over the middle. It was terrible. And you just watch it every time. And he's just faster than the linebackers on the Bengals. So huge revamp was done to the Bengals through the draft as well, not just free agency. I think we drafted 3 linebackers last year. Logan Wilson being my favorite out of that bunch. Seen a lot out of him. Congrats, Logan Wilson. Saw you just got engaged there. Congrats to you. If you're watching, I would be amazed, but shout out to you, buddy. So let's kind of give an overview on the teams and what they got in cap space. The Bengals currently, out of these 3 teams, out of the Bengals, the Browns, and the Lions, the Bengals currently have $45 million in cap space. They're in the top 7, if not top 5, of all teams that have available cap space ready to go. Next is Cleveland, $21 million. I talked about it earlier. I said that they don't really need to make very many moves in order to get J.J. Watt on their team. They don't. They have it ready to go. I think there are some things that they could do to get up close to that $40 million mark too, to make even more moves, because Cleveland, I'm sorry, like you guys, you did really well, but your defense is shit. Like it's terrible, and Cleveland fans know that. They know how bad their defense was last year. But you add a pass rusher like J.J. Watt, gets a little bit better. And then you have the Lions. Lions cap space. They're currently $1 million over the cap. They don't have much going on, and I think that's fine. I think that's fine if you're a Lions fan. Don't worry about that. Because what you're going to do right now is not through free agency. It's not. What you're going to do right now, let's back up a little bit. What did the Lions do this offseason? Well, probably the biggest trade of the year so far, at least so far, right? Obviously, Deshaun Watson is still yet to move. Carson Wentz just went to the Colts. Whatever. But the biggest trade of the year, without any question, in my opinion, so far, Matt Stafford to the Rams for Jared Goff plus picks. No question that the Rams got the better quarterback. No question there whatsoever. Rams got the better quarterback. I think their contracts are pretty similar, if I'm not mistaken. John would know. John, if you're still watching, comment below. I'm pretty sure that their contracts are pretty similar. Jared Goff was making a good amount of money. He just got re-signed to an extension, but the thing is that you got draft capital. You moved on from Matthew Stafford. You've started anew. You now have a quarterback in Jared Goff that is, he's got something to prove. He had a really, really bad season. Actually, he's had a couple really bad seasons ever since the Rams have kind of either moved on from Todd Gurley through injury or through him going on to Atlanta. Jared Goff has not looked good. The Rams haven't been what they were when they had Gurley to rely on. Their offense was built single-handedly around handing that ball off to Todd Gurley, doing a jet sweep across the side, something quick and off the edge, and then from that you get play action. You open up Jared Goff. You get these quick guys through the little dink and dunk slants, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and things like that. The Rams offense needed a revamp, and they're getting that through Matt Stafford. Back to the Lions, however, if I put on my GM hat right now, if I want the Lions to absolutely blow this thing up. What do you have to lose at this point? You're sitting at 7 right now, so you're not really, in my opinion, you're not like sitting at a blue chip gonna get my quarterback guy at 7. That's just my opinion. I think most good quarterbacks are taken in the top 5. You can look at the stats and it'll tell you that. There are some, diamonds in the rough like Big Ben. Russell Wilson, I think, was taken in the 3rd round, which is just insane. Who else? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers slipped to Green Bay. There's a couple. Tom Brady, 6th round, but no one. I mean, the Patriots passed on Tom Brady 5 times. Let's not get crazy here, but those are diamonds in the rough. Most times, if you're going to get a successful quarterback, it's going to be done in the top 5. So, what do you look for the Lions to do? In my opinion, blow it up, let it go, trade Galladay. You got Swift. Move as many pieces as you can. And if you can make a move to get into the top 5 to get your guy, do it. Trade up. Get in there. But sitting at 7, I'm looking at like a Sewell, if he's still available, if the Bengals don't grab him at 5. I don't think a lot of your moves are going to be made through free agency this year. You've made your move this offseason, in my opinion. I could be wrong. There could be a couple of signings after a couple of cuts, but most of the moves that the Lions are going to be doing is going to be in the draft, and we'll have some draft episodes later to talk a little bit about what the Lions are going to be doing there, and I'm excited to see what they have available. But they made some moves this offseason, and I think that they're exciting because they got rid of Patricia and they got rid of Quinn, and living here in Detroit, it's like the way that these guys talk about these two on the sports radio, it's like they just pulled off the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of sports. And the proof is kind of in the pudding. Like, Matt Patricia was a dog shit head coach, and Bob Quinn was a terrible GM. It's like Bob Quinn got this job because he was at New England, right? A lot of success at New England. They're like, all right, we can pull this guy into the Lions and let's replicate that Patriot way. And then what happens? They get Jim Caldwell out. 9-7 isn't good enough. You get Jim Caldwell out, winning seasons, and then Matt Patricia, they bring him in, and I think they win 4 fucking games their whole time. What? Yeah, it was, Matt Patricia, obviously from New England as well, so it's like, hey, bud, gonna get you in, get you a head coach job. I don't know. I think Matt Patricia now is like an assistant back in New England doing something like folding clothes or something. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't know what team on earth would hire him as a head coach again. Doesn't make sense. So they got him out. They got Patricia. They got Quinn out, and then they hired a new GM, a new head coach, who looks like if you guys saw that like initial interview, it's like he took too much pre-workout. He did a lot of uppers before he went out there because that guy was insane. It was like he was giving a war speech. Absolutely insane. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. It kind of freaked me out a little bit. But anyway, and they get John Dorsey as an assistant to the GM. John Dorsey, if you're a Cleveland fan, you know who this guy is very well. Basically, his mentality was we're going to get the best players available and we're going to build a team. And he did that. Like a lot of the things that like Cleveland is enjoying right now is because of the work that he did. Went and got people that, people didn't necessarily want at the time, like Jarvis Landry. I believe he was responsible for Jarvis Landry. I know he was responsible for Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt obviously got cut from the Chiefs for the incident at the casino where he like kicked a girl while she was on the ground. Not a good look, to say the least. And went out and got Kareem Hunt. Made their team better. Sorry, it's true. I'm not advocating that Kareem Hunt is a good guy, but he's a good football player. That's just a fact. Scores touchdowns. He's fast. He's good for your football team. Not somebody that I'm having over for a barbecue. Not going to let him watch my kids. I'll hand him the ball off, though. Absolutely. So the Lions got him. Got a guy that cares about winning. That's a culture change for the Lions. That's different. Rather than monotony. The same thing over and over again. We're okay with par for the course. The idea for a lot of people here in Detroit, and in terms of like the Fords, do they care about this team? What they think the Fords think about the Lions is like it's a country club event for them. Oh, Sundays we go to Ford Field and we drink beers and watch the Lions lose. Like that's what they think the Fords think about this team. They don't care about winning. It's just like a status thing for them. That's how they feel. So for them to go out and make moves, make good hires for their front office is impressive. I'm excited. They made a good trade too. They won that trade. I don't know what the Rams are going to do to retool that offense to make that a good trade for them. They got a better quarterback, no question there, but their offense is not set up for Matt Stafford right now, currently. It could be next year, but we have to wait and see for that. So that's what I was getting to earlier about the Lions. Tides are changing. I love what they're doing. It's hard to point to something and like that was a bad move so far this offseason. A lot is going to happen here in the next couple of months, especially as we come up on draft, and they're sitting at 7. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lions trade back at 7. But Cleveland, we talked a lot about Cleveland and their we talked a little bit about Cleveland and their free agency desires. J.J. Watt being the big one, right? In my opinion, J.J. Watt is a good football player. He's a very good football player. He's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame one day. Couple other facts about J.J. Watt. He is 32 years old in less than a month. Now, that doesn't seem very old. I'll be 30 in May, which is mind-blowing. But J.J. Watt, almost 32, with history of injuries. I'm not going out there and being the first to sign up to get that guy on my team, knowing the amount of money that I'm going to have to shell out to get him there, right? So if I'm Cleveland and I've got money to throw, is that the best way to spend my money? I don't think so. I don't think that that's the best way to spend your cap space. That being said, one of the biggest needs that the Browns had was defense. Does J.J. Watt make your defense better? I think the question, or excuse me, the answer is undoubtedly yes. He will make you better. Note from John here, just going back real quick. Goff's contract is a little bit more expensive than the Stafford. Not sure on the details. Right. So this is kind of one of the things is like the Lions are like, all right, we're going to give you Stafford, and yes, we'll take Goff, but you need to give us some picks back on that. Appreciate you throwing those details out, John. So yeah, if you're the Browns, J.J. Watt is getting kicked around a lot as a name that is going to be coming in, and no, as a Bengals fan, I don't want to line up across from him twice a year. We often play the Texans as Bengals, so we see him frequently. But do I want him to be across the line with Myles Garrett? No. I would prefer he didn't sign with the Browns. A couple of names, like I said, being tossed around. The Browns, I saw. The Bills was another one that I saw. Chicago was a name getting tossed around. And then the Packers. Now, that would be interesting for me to see because the Packers need some help on defense too. And over the last couple of days, now, Packers get plenty of national media attention, and here at Line to Gain, I want to focus on the little guys, right? But being in the NFC North, this affects you Lions fans, so I want to talk about it a little bit. The Packers have been releasing some players from their roster over the last couple of days. They've been freeing up some cap space. Is it for J.J. Watt? I don't know. Could he be going back home to Wisconsin to a team that could win a Super Bowl? Maybe. But that's, in my head, that's what I would want as J.J. Watt. I'm not chasing the money. No way. No way am I chasing the money. He's got more money than any of us combined. I think he's going for a ring. And in my opinion, I think that Green Bay would be the best fit. I think they have the best setup. They were just in the NFC Championship game, for God's sakes. But Cleveland is not a bad fit either. I mean, it irks me to say this, but they are getting close, right? The AFC North is going through a weird change. The Steelers are on the down. I'm sorry, but it's just a fact. The Steelers are on the downturn. They're going to rebuild soon. I don't know how long it'll take, but they're going to rebuild. The Browns are on the up. I think the Ravens have plateaued, to be honest with you. I think they've plateaued. But the Bengals are very low. And you can't go much lower. The trajectory is headed up for the Bengals. So, anyway, I think we're going through a change where the Browns could be the top team in the AFC North very soon. Very soon. If not next year, I think the Browns could probably win the division next year. Quick comment from John back on the Lions. If I'm the Lions GM, I would re-sign our defensive stud, Aquara. Release or trade Marvin Jones. Sadly, release or trade Galladay. If the deal isn't right, rebuild the offense through the draft. And that makes a good point, in terms of rebuilding the offense. And this kind of gets back to I'm going to tie it all into the J.J. Watt thing too. What do I want my team to do? What do I want the Bengals to do? And this is, if I was a fan of any team, this is what I would want them to do. Build your offense to score 30 points a game. That's pretty much what you need to do. If you can't score 30 points a game on average, you will not win a Super Bowl. It's true. You have to look at the teams that were in the conference championships. Every single one of them scored at least 30 points a game on average. It's not about defense until you get to the Super Bowl. That's true. And we watched the Super Bowl. We saw what Tampa did to Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of talk about, the refs did that, this or that. But the defensive game plan that they had won that Super Bowl. But getting to that point, you have to also have an offense that can score at least 30 points a game. So get your offense to the point, and you do this through the draft, people. Build your offense through the draft that gets you to 30 points a game. And the reason that you do this through the draft is because The two most responsible positions other than quarterback for scoring points are the wide receiver and the running back. Okay? Those are also the two most overpaid positions in free agency, without question. Look at like Jarvis Landry's contract, for instance. Now, he has value, but is his pay, excuse me, is his salary equivalent to where he stacks up in terms of like the upper echelon of the league? No. Sammy Watkins, Kansas City, exactly the same. One of the higher paid wide receivers over the last decade. It doesn't make you do not pay wide receivers and you do not pay running backs in free agency. You don't do it. You're going to overpay every single time without question. The other position that you don't pay in free agency is defensive end. And that's why I wouldn't take J.J. Watt. You're going to overpay. He's 32 years old in a month. Value at the NFL after the age of 30 drops like a rock in water. It goes down drastically. Same reason I'm okay with AJ Green walking away. Do I love AJ Green? Without a doubt. Did I have some of the most fun times watching the Bengals because of AJ Green? Absolutely. Do I think the Bengals should pay him what he wants to be paid? No. Doesn't make sense. Wide receivers, running backs, and pass rushers. You don't pay them in free agency. You don't. I love Joe Mixon too, but do I think the Bengals should have paid Joe Mixon? Probably not. Now, the deal wasn't crazy. Running back contracts have steadily declined over the last couple of years, and it's because that value isn't there. Running backs only last like 4 years, 5 years max. That's the length of a rookie contract, guys. So that's my point. And that ties back to the J.J. Watt thing. I'm not I'm not sold that that's the best move for the Browns. There's a lot of other value that you can get in terms of utilizing that cap space. And not only that, there could be some people that you need to extend on your own team. I'm not an expert on the financials of the Cleveland Browns, but there could be some value to utilizing that cap space elsewhere, making extensions so that you don't have to do it later. So, to the Bengals, in terms of free agency, there's one name that is tossed around repeatedly, and that is Ohio native Joe Thuney, New England Patriot. After New England's last game, Joe went out onto the field and just sat there. He just sat. It might have been on the 50-yard line, but he just kind of took it in. He spent a lot of time in Foxborough, a lot of championships. He's a hell of a guard. He's very, very good. And he's an Ohio native. Not only that, I think he grew up a Bengals fan, similar to T. Higgins. There's a tweet from him back in, I think it was like 2015. Could have been earlier. Sorry, I can't remember, but it literally just said "Who Dey, baby." Could have been 2012, actually. 2012, I think is when it was. But Joe Thuney saying "Who Dey, baby," because he was a fan. He liked the Bengals, so he's a free agent now. There are reports that from people, mothers, brothers, cousins, sisters, former college roommate, saying that Joe Thuney has said if the Bengals pay him enough, he'll come. He'll play. He'll play for the Bengals as long as the price is right. So I don't know that he's necessarily out chasing for championships, but probably getting that pocketbook right, which, hey, who can blame him? But that's who I want. If I'm a Bengals fan, and I want Joe Thuney. That's the biggest thing that we have to do, guys. We have to upgrade this offensive line. Again, it comes back to the thing. Score 30 points. Build your offense to score 30 points a game. That's what you have to do. Alrighty, just a couple quick topics before we wrap it up for the night. We're sitting at 5 at the Bengals, and you're like, who are we going to draft? Who are we going to take at 5? And we're going to get into a little bit more draft talk and analysis and who we would take and why, in later episodes. But there are 3 main prospects that, in my mind, that are obviously standing out. It's Sewell, the tackle from Oregon. It is Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, and Jamar Chase, the wide receiver from LSU, who Joe Burrow obviously has a good connection with. So 3 prospects that the Bengals could see at 5. And basically what you have to do is Trevor Lawrence is going 1, right? You know that that's happening. You know that at least, or if not Trevor Lawrence, at least one quarterback. One quarterback is going first. If it's not Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields or somebody is going first overall to Jacksonville. And Urban Meyer, which is just crazy, by the way, right? Urban Meyer coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that's really even set in for me. I don't know about you guys, but wild. So a quarterback's going number 1. So what does that mean? It means that you've got 3 other picks that are in between you and your guy, right? And so what you need to do as an organization is figure out who are those 4 people. You need to think that, potentially Sewell could go 2. Or Sewell could go 3. Jamar Chase could go. Pitts could go. These guys could be gone. So you need to have that 4th one ready in the chamber, ready to go. And I'm of the opinion that there isn't that guy that I would take at 5. That at least that fits the Bengals' needs. There isn't that guy sitting there right now ready to go at number 5 that the Bengals should take. So I think you trade. If Sewell, if Kyle Pitts, and if Jamar Chase, if those guys are all gone, you get out of that 5 slot. And again, we're going to dive a little bit more into this as we get closer to the draft. But just keep those names in your mind. Those are the targets that we're really looking at here as we approach draft day. We're getting a little bit over the hour mark. It's been fun. I'm really happy that you guys have tuned in. We are going to continue talking Browns, continue talking Lions, continue talking Bengals, and any other relevant happenings in the NFL in the weeks to come. This has been the first episode of Line to Gain. If you guys have feedback, shoot me a message on Facebook. Make sure you like and follow the page. Share it with your friends. I love you guys. I appreciate you coming. It's been fun. I haven't been able to do this this podcast thing for quite a while, so it's been good. It's been good. I appreciate my family for all their support, and my fiance for allowing me the time to do this. But we'll see you next Sunday at 8:30. Line to Gain podcast. Have a good night.